What is up, guys? Beancrew49 here. We're back on the Desolation map. And we're in front of that big black skyscraper again. It's the weekend. I've got the game open. Let's check out who's in the game with us here today. I like to keep the game open on weekends because, you know, that's when a lot of people are online. You guys can come watch me build or whatever I'm doing. I want to get this out of the way right now at the top of the episode. I know a lot of you are skipping through my videos, so you don't hear me say this a lot of the time. But stop sending me messages asking me if you can join the game. I'm so sick of it. Join my party. Join the party. If you want to play, if you want to come see Desolation, all you have to do is join my party. Join my party. Don't send me a message on Xbox Live. I'm not going to respond. I might not even read it. Okay? Anyway, we're going to be doing some interiors today. Today's Monday, which means creative question of the week time. We're going to do some fast forward building. I'm going to be working on some interiors, trying to get this floor finished. This is a middle class apartment complex, and it's super speed build time. All right. What do I want to say about this build? Not too much. You know, I'm going to build a master bedroom, a bathroom, an office, and then a child's bedroom. I'm going to fill in some hallways today, and just generally try to get this apartment closer to finish, because, wow, we've been working on this thing for a long time. A really long time, actually. And I want to play some PvP. That's my driving force, guys. I always want to play PvP in the things I'm working on. So it drives me to get the things I'm working on done. So we're going to get this done pretty soon. Creative question of the week. Let's devote a lot of time to this, because this is a good question again, guys. I keep saying, you know, we don't have to answer deep questions, but you keep bringing the deep questions to me, so I guess I gotta answer. If you guys have not such a deep question, feel free to ask it. Ask any question you want, guys. I'm probably gonna choose the most creative. Alright, let's see who asked the question this week. This week's question comes from Arkham Guy 215. Arkham Guy, yeah. He asks, what are your thoughts on the presidential race? Alright, thank you, Arkham Guy. He's in my Clash of Clans clan. So, if you guys are into Clash of Clans, you know, join up. It's called Desolation MC. And, Beancrew49 is my thing on the thing, so it's easy to find me. Anyway, Arkham Guy says, what are your thoughts on the presidential race? Here we go. Are you guys sitting down? I don't know how this is gonna go, but it might be a rant. Let me say this. Again, these are my opinions. You don't need to dislike the video if you don't agree with me. I much prefer if you tell me why you disagree. That's way more productive. Let's open up a discourse. Let's talk about it. Let me start answering by saying the presidential election, the whole voting system, is a system of subjugation. What does that mean? It's a tool used to hold you down, hold you in place. Now, you're probably wondering, what the heck am I talking about right now? I don't know how to start this. I don't know where to begin. I used to be into politics, and I would, you know, pay attention to the debates and all the things, and, you know, just follow the candidates and see what they're about. Until, you know, over time, I started to realize that this is a dog and pony show, and you have absolutely no control over any of it. Absolutely none. Let's talk about the way a president is chosen. Let's talk about that first. The Electoral College in the United States. It is one of the most backwards, nonsensical things ever implemented in government. If you know how the Electoral College works, you know what I'm talking about. So in the United States, we have a vote, you know, and people vote, they go to the polls, they vote for their candidate for president, and they feel like that they've made a difference in the world, right? They've put in their 2 cents, and maybe they've influenced the outcome of the presidential election. Wrong. You know why? Because we have the Electoral College, and the popular vote in this country doesn't count towards who's president. What happens is, let's say your state, the majority of the people in your state choose let's say the Democratic choice, okay? The number of people who voted for that person goes out the window, and what you're left is, the size of your state dictates how many votes from the Electoral College you get. So if you have a large state, you're going to have more people And these people are people in government. The people in government look at the results of their state and they say, I guess the people want the Democrat. Maybe I should vote Democrat. There's no law stopping them. So basically, the people in government representing your state put in a vote, and that vote has nothing to do with how the state, the people voted. It's however that representative chooses to vote. Does that make any sense to you? Do you guys remember in 2000 with Al Gore and George Bush, where Al Gore won the popular vote by a lot, but George Bush won the presidency because of the Electoral College? The Electoral College put in a person who the people didn't elect. This has happened 4 times in our very short history. 4 times. Now, does it make sense to you that people in government choose the people in government? Does that make any kind of sense to you? Don't you think that your vote should count towards who becomes president? Don't you think that maybe your vote shouldn't be just a polite suggestion to some senator? What's going on in this country? Now, the reason I say this is a system of subjugation... Well, actually, before I answer that, let's go back further. We have a 2-party system. Of the 350 million Americans, 350 plus million Americans, we are presented with 2 options, 2 people. 350 different viewpoints. We're all different. We all have our own ideas. And we are presented with 2 people to choose from. And these people, guess what? Every single year, they have the same beliefs. Do you know why? Because they belong to a political party. So every year, you get to choose, or every voting year, you get to choose between a Democrat who has a certain set of beliefs that he must adhere to, or else he'll be thrown out by the other Democrats. Or you have a Republican, who must follow the Republican guidelines, or else he'll be thrown out by the other Republicans. Is that a choice? If you went into an ice cream shop and they had 2 choices, would you even consider buying an ice cream, or would you turn around and walk out the door? Does that make sense? Does that analogy? It's not Baskin-Robbins 2 flavors. It's 31 flavors. Because people are different, and we need people that represent us. And you're not going to get someone who represents us from 2 choices. Okay? So that's the first way they keep you subjugated. They only give you 2 options, which are essentially the same every single year. Okay? Then they say, okay, vote on these 2 options. Your vote counts. You get to choose which one of these 2 options you get. But is that true? Or is that a complete fabrication? Because you don't get to choose. The people don't choose who's president. The Electoral College does. So government puts in people in government, basically. Okay? Have you ever heard of checks and balances? Because there are none. There are none. Okay, so you're being lied to. You're being manipulated. You're being given the illusion that you have a say in the matter. Okay? Now, my whole thing, I've been getting you guys to ask questions. I want you guys to ask questions. Why? Why do we have this? Why would the government lie to us and tell us that we have an option when we don't? It's because they want us to remain powerless. And in order for us to remain powerless, we have to be confused. We have to be told that we do have power. We have to think that we have power. Because if we think we have power, then we don't realize that we are powerless. Okay? So when it comes to government, the government is running the show. You think you're voting for something? You think you're actually voting for something? You wasted your time going down to that polling office. You're just fueling this deception. You're fueling it. Now, I'm getting you guys to ask some questions. Let's start asking some questions right now. Have you ever met, have you ever seen, have you ever heard of someone who counts these votes? Who counts these votes? Have these people been presented to us? Who is counting these votes? Okay, so we don't see who's counting the votes. Have you seen the results of the votes? Other than just a number that flashes on screen of who won? How do we know who is tabulating these results? Do we? How do you know that the president hasn't been chosen 10 years in advance? Let me ask that question again, because it's an extremely important question to ask. How do you know the president hasn't been chosen in advance? Do I need to ask that a third time? That's how important this question is, guys. How do you know? How do you know? The answer is you do not. You do not know whether or not this president has been chosen in advance. How are these families, literally families, how are they staying in the White House? The Adams, the Bushes, the Clintons. Like, again, we have 350 million plus people, but the same families are staying in Washington, D.C. We have all sorts of people who are qualified for this job, but we have families staying in control. Does that sound like a free, open government to you guys? Or does that sound like someone's in charge, someone's making us think that they're not in charge, they're making us think that we're in control, but someone's pulling the strings here? You guys need to ask questions, man. I'm serious. That's an important question. How do you know? How do you know about anything going on in government? Let's think about this for a second. Do you trust the media? Do you believe the media tells you the whole truth? Do you believe that government has some sort of control of the media? Rupert Murdoch. That's a very important question. Do you think that the government controls media to some degree? If you say yes, then we're going to go down a rabbit hole right now. Okay? We're about to go down this rabbit hole. So if the government has some control over the media, right? Let's assume that. That's true, guys. Come on. We can assume that. What? No, let's frame this question better. There's a better way to frame this question. How do you know what your government is doing? How do you know? Think about it. How do you know what your government is doing? Every single piece of information you get about your government comes from the media. Every single, unless you work in government, maybe some of you do, but most of us do not. So every single piece of information that we get concerning government comes from the media. Now, if the government controls the media, how do we know anything about our government? How could we possibly know anything about the government if they're reporting on themselves? Ask questions, guys. Ask questions. If the only connection you have to government is through media, and media is manipulated by the government, does that mean that the government is manipulating the information that comes out about itself? The answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. And you guys all know this. But it's not something that you like to think about because it's very scary. It's extremely scary. So a lot of people don't like to talk about it. They say, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. That is a phrase that the government has put out. Conspiracy theorist. Because you hear that word, and what's the first things you associate with it? Crazy, wacko, delusional, schizophrenic, right? These are all things that the government has put out so that you immediately question someone like me who questions the government, okay? You label these people conspiracy theorists, and you say, oh, they're crazy. They're not crazy. They're asking questions. And as soon as you ask a question that someone refuses to answer, that's when you know you're on to something. That's when you know you're on to something. And that's when you got to start asking more questions. That's not when you back down. No. That's when you step up and start really trying to get to the bottom of it. Okay? So I know that Arkham Guy was probably trying to get me to say my opinion on Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. I'm not going to comment about any of those because it's all a lie. It's all fake. The president's already been chosen, guys. Come on, we know that. They've already chosen this president. And, you can spend your time saying, oh, Bernie's going to do this, Hillary's going to do that. It's all nonsense. It's all a distraction. It's all an illusion to make you think that this government is working for you, that you have some say in it. No, they're not. No, they do. You do not. You have nothing. They're tricking you. It's a trick, basically. And the only way you're going to realize you're being tricked is if you ask questions, guys. That's what I'm trying to get you to do. Ask the questions. And don't just ask me the questions, which you should do. Create a question of the week for next week in the comment section or on my Twitter. But what I mean is ask questions of everything. And don't stop until you get an answer. And you're not going to get an answer you like to a lot of these questions, but don't stop there either. Okay? All right. Thank you, Arkham Guy, for that great question. And I think we're going to wrap up the video. I got a lot of that floor done. We're going to work on it some more, get some PvP going in there. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this. Leave a creative question for next week. Ask questions. Don't vote. Happy Minecrafting. Peace.